Alright, hello there, thrill seekers, and that of course was Maggot Brain by Funkadelic, and you knew that already, didn't you? You should have. Anyway, apparently that song, the guitar solo, was played by Eddie Hazel as a lament to his dead mother, as I remember the story. So I played it as a lament to my dead father who just passed away. And sorry to keep belaboring this, but, you know, this is what I'm going through right now, so you're going through it with me. And I thought I would present you something I found kind of interesting. Here is, this book is called Dogen's Extensive Record. It's a translation of Eihei Koroku, which is kind of the other big book of Dogen's, apart from Shobo Genzo. Now, I find Shobo Genzo a lot more interesting than Eihei Koroku because Eihei Koroku is mostly composed of short pieces. I am not sure if Dogen actually wrote these down, with his own hand. Shobo Genzo was things that he actually sat there and wrote with his little pen and paper. I'm not sure if Eihei Koroku was composed by him in the same way or if it was compiled from notes taken by students, because that's what a lot of it looks like. And they're mostly short pieces, and they mostly seem to be transcriptions of talks that he gave. And a lot of the time, when I read the Eihei Koroku pieces, it feels like you had to have been there. Whereas Shobo Genzo pieces feel like they were written for posterity. They were written for an audience that sort of Dogen conceived of being the people who were reading this, who were not there at the time, and then these were just pieces that were spoken for the people who were there at the time. That's how I feel about Eihei Koroku, which is why I do a lot less talking about Eihei Koroku. But Eihei Koroku happens to have two eulogies, I guess you'd call them eulogies, that were spoken by Dogen for nuns that were his students for their parents. So I'm going to read you one of them, and if I have time, I'll read you another one. We'll see. If not, maybe we'll get to it in another video. Okay, so this is Dharma Hall Discourse number 161, and the translators, who are Taigen, Dan Layton, and Shohaku Okamura, have titled it Not Saying Alive, Not Saying Dead. Dogen did not give these titles. And another title is given, I'm not sure if this title was given to it by Dogen or the compilers, the original compilers or not, is Dharma Hall Discourse requested by Bhikshuni, that means nun, Eishin, for her late father. And the footnote says, nothing is known about the Bhikshuni nun, Eishin, whose name means blessing faith. Dogen had a number of women disciples. So all we know about her is she was one of Dogen's women disciples, and we know her name, actually her Dharma name. This isn't even her given name. The name given by her parents is a Dharma name. Okay, here is the discourse, and it's pretty short, and it goes like this. This is about for her late father. So I don't know if her father had just died or if this is on some kind of an anniversary of his death. We don't even know that much, but here goes. Penetrating one dharma is penetrating 10,000 dharmas. Knowing the three elements of heaven, humanity, and earth is knowing all Buddhas. So it is said, knowing benefaction is repaying benefaction. I remember that Jinyuan Zhongjing, at a donor's house on a condolence visit with his teacher Dao Wu, rubbed the casket and said, alive or dead. Dao Wu said, I won't say alive, I won't say dead. Jinyuan, the student, asked, why won't you speak? Dao Wu, his teacher, said, I won't say, I won't say. The teacher Dogen said, now that's in italics, so it seems to have been penciled in later. This is one of the reasons I'm not sure if Dogen actually wrote this, because it's sort of written as if somebody else wrote it. So Dogen said, alive or dead, all Buddhas of the three times don't know it is. Dead or alive, cats and white oxen do know it is. Not saying alive, not saying dead. As of old, an iron ox lies down in smoke and sand. Why don't you speak? The tongue is too long and the mouth too narrow. I won't say, I won't say. A tiger and a tiger become intimate for the first time. Okay, typical obtuse Dogen, right? Well, let me see how much of this I can unpack for you. Sorry. The main bit, I won't say alive or dead, is based on a certain koan, and I think I've talked about this koan on this channel before, but maybe not. And one of the places you can find this koan is in Master Dogen's Shinji Shobogenzo, as translated by Gudo Nishijima, and there it appears as Book 1, Koan 29. And I'm going to read it to you. And in this version, we are using the Japanese pronunciation of the characters' names. So Dogo equals Dao Wu, and Zengen equals Jin Yuan. So all you need to know is Dogo is the teacher, Zengen is the student. So I think that's probably good enough. Master Zengen Chuko of the Tan district one day visited a house with Master Dogo Enchi. So Dogo is the teacher, Zengen is the student, to convey their condolences. At that moment, Master Zengen, patting the coffin, said, "Is it alive or dead?" I'm not sure why they said it. I think he would have been better here. I'm not sure why the translators, Jeremy Pearson and Mike Lutchford, decided to say it. Anyway, I'm going to say, is he alive or dead? Master Dogo, the teacher, said, "I will not say alive or dead." Master Zengen, the student, said, "Why won't you say?" Master Dogo said, "I will never say, I will never say." On the way back to the temple, Master Zengen said, "Master, please give me your answer now. If you don't, I'll hit you." Master Dogo said, "You can hit me if you like, but I will never say." Then Master Zengen hit Master Dogo, the student hit his teacher, several times with his fist. On returning to the temple, Master Dogo, the teacher, said, "It would be better for you to leave this temple, but if the Shuso, the head monk, hears that you are leaving, it will cause problems, so leave in secret." After Master Dogo died, Master Zengen went to the temple of Master Sekiso Keisho. He told Master Sekiso about the incident and asked the master for his teachings. Master Sekiso said, "I will not say he is alive, I will not say he is dead." Master Zengen said, "Why won't you say?" Master Sekiso said, "I will never say, I will never say." Basically, same thing as the teacher had originally said. On hearing these words, Master Zengen realized something. The end. So here is Nishijima Roshi's commentary. Zengen patted a coffin and asked Master Dogo whether the body inside was alive or dead. Master Dogo didn't want to limit the real situation to Zengen's concepts of life and death, so he refused to answer. Zengen's need for an answer to this question was so great that he said he would hit his master unless he provided an answer to the question immediately. The master said that Zengen could hit him if he wanted, but he still would refuse to answer. So Zengen hit the master with his fist, but still got no answer to his question. I'm afraid that many of us are like Zengen. If we found someone we thought knew the answer to the problem of life and death, we would be willing to do anything to get the answer. Usually such people are all too willing to provide the answers we seek. Master Dogo was different. He refused to reduce the real situation to the categories that Zengen insisted on. After they returned to the temple, Master Dogo suggested that Zengen leave the temple. Perhaps he thought that Zengen's state was too disturbed at that time for him to continue studying at the temple. Later, after Master Dogo had died, Zengen asked the same question to Master Sekiso and received the same answer. However, the man who heard the answer was different. This time, instead of pursuing his demand for an intellectual answer to the point of violence, Zengen was able to open himself to the reality that his teachers had been trying to get him to experience for himself. And I wrote a couple notes on the page. I wrote, I won't say was not rejecting Zengen's question, but was Dogo's precise answer. And I attributed that to Okumura. I suppose Shohaku Okumura must have written that somewhere, but I think that's a good point. I won't say was actually the answer to the question. It wasn't a rejection of the question. And I also wrote that Dogen's Shobogenzo Zenki, which is usually called all functions, but I called it the whole shebang in my book, Letters to a Dead Friend About Zen. I wrote that is a commentary on this koan, and I just read it last night, and I'm like, why is that a commentary on this koan, and where did I get the idea that there was a commentary on this koan? But I'm going to read a little bit of it to you and see what you think. But rather than reading you Nishijima Roshi's translation, I'm going to read you the translation by Ko Sen Nishiyama and John Stevens. The reason is because, two, it's shorter and I can get through it in a video quicker. And number two, one time when I was studying with my teacher Tim, he happened to read this translation aloud to the group. And ever since then, I've had a soft spot for this version of it. And even though I think Nishijima Roshi's version with Mike Cross is better, I kind of have a soft spot for this version. And like I said, it's shorter and I can probably fit it into the video. So let's just read it. And it doesn't directly reference the story that I just read you, but I wrote that it was a commentary on that story. So let's read it and see what we think. They call it, Nishiyama and Stevens call it, the total activity of life and death. The great way of all the Buddhas and the ultimate goal in Buddhism is detachment from life and death in the realization of enlightenment. We must be detached from life in life and death in death, i.e., when we are alive, life is the total activity, and in death, death is total activity. Life is the experience of life, and death is the experience of death. Life and death together are the actual appearance of truth. The ultimate goal is detachment from, that is, total immersion in, life and death. Understanding life and death are the means whereby the Bodhisattva achieves salvation for himself and others. Realization of enlightenment means true life, full, free activity. When we actualize enlightenment, the full meaning of life and death becomes clear. However, this experience cannot be defined by consciousness or cognition. Large or small, limited or unlimited, long or short, near or far. Our present life is formed by this experience. In the same way, this experience is formed by life. This experience, the one you're having right now. Life is not coming or going, appearing or disappearing. Life is the total experience of life. Conversely, death is the total experience of death. In the unlimited nature of Buddhist practice, life and death have this special meaning. If we reflect on our present life and begin to have some awakening, gradually the world starts to manifest its complete appearance. The entire universe is filled with the total activity of life. Each instant has total existence. Life is like being in a boat. I always hate these phrases when Zen masters say life is like being in a boat. I always like to parody this. I do this thing. These people in Finland love it. I pretend like, oh, this is what I'll be like when I'm 90 years old and I'm coming to Finland. I'll be like, life is like chocolate. And I'll just be like falling asleep in the middle of the sentence, and I'll just keep saying that over and over and over. I'll spare you the whole thing, but that's what I'll be like when I'm 90, if I make it. Even when we control the sail, rudder, and oars, still the boat has its own independent existence and is absolutely necessary for us to survive. We cannot live without it. On the other hand, the boat cannot function correctly without us. Man and boat are complete, harmonious, totally activated interdependence. I'm guessing that man and boat is his metaphor for self and universe. So that's my guess. When man and boat function together and form complete, full activity, the entire sky, all the water, and every shore also belong to the same time and space. Indeed, all the circumstances work together harmoniously. Like this, life and our existence function together. So life and our existence. So yeah, I think I got that right. Let's keep going. Zen master Engo Kokugon said, "Life is the total activity of life, death is the total activity of death." These two dimensions are not opposed. They exist together in one universal experience. They are not concerned with conceptions of time and space. Universal experience is accomplished in life and death, and nothing can obstruct it. But each individual experience of life and death, while not completely different, is not exactly the same as universal experience. Everything has its own life and death, and non-existence of life and death. Through these, we can discover the true nature of existence. It is like a man stretching out his arm or a sleeping person grasping for a pillow. And if you've paid attention to any of my work, you'll know that that is a reference to what is the enlightened activity of the Bodhisattva of compassion. It is like a person reaching to adjust a pillow in the night. It means intuitive action that's done spontaneously without any real thought of what it's for or who's receiving the action. Just complete natural action that is done, doing what needs to be done right now for the sake of just doing it. It is the actualization of divine light and complete activity. Life and death appear in each moment. They appear instantly, naturally, without thought. If we strive earnestly, we can perceive their appearance. At the moment of realization, life and death become completely clear. Do not think, however, that there is no previous realization. So at the moment of realization, don't think that this realization is something that just happened right now. Realization was there even before the moment of realization. So realization is there right now. Even if you think maybe someday in the future I'm going to get enlightenment, maybe someday in the future you will get enlightenment. But right now, you're just as enlightened as you will be in the future time when you get enlightened. Every moment contains total reality and is complete in itself. Recognize, or redneckignize, that there is continual realization constantly renewing itself. And the colophon at the end, the little note at the end says, this was given at the castle of the daimyo, that's a big deal samurai, Hatano Izumono Kami Yoshishige on December 17th, 1242, and transcribed January 19th, 1243 by Eijo. That's one of Dogen's students. So there you go. What can I say about that? Life is the total activity of life. Death is the total activity of death. And that thing about he knocks on the coffin, I won't say alive, I won't say dead, that was one of the first koans I ever heard. I heard it from Tim McCarthy, my first Zen teacher, a long, long time ago when I was a little sprout and both of my parents were still alive. And, you know, it had some kind of intuitive sense to me. You know, I think I understood something of the meaning of it immediately when I first heard it. This is the way Zen is. You know, I've been kind of talking here and there about the difference between Advaita Vedanta teaching and Zen teaching, and how Zen teaching is so frustrating because nobody ever says anything directly. And the Advaita Vedanta teaching can seem a lot less frustrating because people just explain it right to you. Like, just before this stuff happened with my dad dying, I was doing some stuff about Rupert. Somebody said I should pronounce it, it was Muho said he thinks that the guy's name should be pronounced Spira instead of Spira. I don't know, Spira. He's an Advaita Vedanta teacher who I was watching. And his stuff, like Ramesh Balsekar, another Advaita Vedanta teacher, they just tell you stuff right out. And I mentioned how Leonard Cohen had gone from Joshu Sasaki, the Zen teacher, to Ramesh Balsekar, and he'd complained that Sasaki was so obtuse and so hard to understand, and he loved Ramesh Balsekar because he'd just tell you stuff straight out and it was much easier to understand. And I ultimately think the Zen, and I hate to do this because people get mad at me for comparing it, but I think the Zen stuff, the reason I like Zen is because it's obtuse and difficult and doesn't tell you things straight out. And that's I think what this koan is about, and it might be what Dogen was trying to convey to Eshin, his student, the nun who was probably grieving about her father. I won't say alive, I won't say dead, and maybe this is what Dogen in 800 years ago is trying to convey to me about my father. I won't say alive, I won't say dead. These categories try to kind of pin things down. And life kind of resists being pinned down, and death kind of resists being pinned down. And if you think you understand life and death, I think you're probably wrong. If you think you know what life is and you think you know what death is, you're probably wrong. And that's what I keep learning from this practice, is that I'm probably wrong. Maybe that's what I should call my next book, I'm Probably Wrong. And then nobody would buy it. Who would buy a book called I'm Probably Wrong? Anyway, that's Dogen's eulogy for his dead nun's father. So thought you might enjoy that, and I thought you might enjoy a little maggot brain on the guitar from me this morning. So there you go. That's what I got to say about that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If you want to support me playing more maggot brain on the guitar, and I don't know how to end this today, but that's it. And if you want to just donate to me doing stuff that I do, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and usually only ways of making a living, so I appreciate your support, but as always, this is offered for free, so you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey Ziggy, you came out this time, huh? Is it warm enough for you? Sitting in your sunbeam? Enjoying your sunbeam? Maybe it'll give you some vitamin D. Do dogs get vitamin D from the sun? People do. Well, I'm going to go back inside and edit this video. You can come in with me if you want. Laters.